Hi, I'm Alison Penny-Collis. I'm a member of the comms team. I'm responsible for delivering the Welsh Public Health Conference this year, and this is Richard Lewis from the Green Travel Group. I believe you've got some questions for me today.
Just to give a little bit of background, within the organisation I'm part of the Environmental Sustainability Programme and particularly the Green Travel Group. And within the Green Travel Group, obviously we're always keen to look for ways to promote ways for our staff to travel actively and sustainably, whether that's to and from work or to and from our business during the working day. So thanks for the opportunity to ask you a couple of questions about the Wales Public Health Conference 2019. We have had a couple of comments from members of the group and other colleagues within the organisation about how perhaps the choice of the venue this year, I'm sure it has very good aspects to it, but it could be a little bit more challenging in terms of us promoting active and sustainable travel over and above car use, for example.
Okay. So the conference has been running for a number of years, and it's probably one of our largest events, which means that we do have to sort of follow a very rigorous competitive tender process when we're looking for our venues. So this year, as usual, our requirements, we're looking at the events requirements, the space that we need, but also looking at a central location that has got good transport links, and obviously we are stressing that we do want good public transport links. Picking the right venue is quite critical for us. We look for a number of different things and trying to maintain that balance of sustainability versus the conference needs and the user's experience is quite critical, but we do try to follow the sustainability guidelines on events that you've produced, that I believe is on our intranet, and also the WHO's own guidelines and the European Commission's guidelines. Another part that's fairly critical for us with the tender is not just looking at the space itself and looking at the location, but it's looking at all of the other elements that make up a sustainable event. So we look at the renewable energy policies they have, we look at their waste policies, we look at their environmental policies, and we look at their creative catering solutions and how they source locally and how they sort of deliver that sort of aspect of it.
Yeah, sure. And today our questions are about obviously green travel, because I appreciate that some of the other sustainability components that you're talking about, such as energy and waste, are absolutely in line with some of the other working groups that we have. So I wanted to ask, so I'm a member of staff and will be coming to the conference. So how will Public Health Wales be supporting our colleagues who want to come to the conference by active and sustainable travel?
So this year's conference is taking place at the International Conference Centre in Newport, so the ICC. It's a government supported venue. It does have access via public transport through the train lines, so you can catch a train to Newport, and the Newport bus service are actually running a shuttle service from the train station to the venue, and we'll be putting an application in to try and request some more sort of bus and shuttle services to the venue. We will be promoting all of the active travel options that are available. For those people that feel that they must drive, we will be continuously promoting the active travel options. We'll be suggesting that they consider carpooling options. We'll also be suggesting that they look at park and ride to at least break up and break down some of the carbon footprint that they'll be sort of building up. So during our registration process, we'll be asking delegates to indicate their mode of transport, so whether that's walking, cycling, coming by bus, coming by train, or if they are indeed coming by car. If they're coming by car, we'll be asking them what their vehicle is and what mileage they'll be doing. We'll also then at the conference be cross-checking that with delegates that they arrive so that we can actually calculate that carbon footprint. But on top of that, we'll also be looking at our own sort of influence there in terms of the suppliers that we'll be using and how they're minimising, I suppose, their carbon footprints, and also looking at the venue's own piece. So we are working towards developing a fuller picture of the carbon footprint, but it is down to obviously having people disclose their true intentions and us promoting quite heavily the alternative routes that they can use to get to the conference.
Will we be able to use the results then of that carbon footprint to inform things like other big events such as the Wales Public Health Conference in 2020 and other similar conferences and events?
Well, I would hope so. I mean, this conference in the last 2 years, we've worked quite hard to try and make it a sustainable conference, and that's our ambition, is to continue to drive that mission forward, and through that influence some of the other larger events that take place in Public Health Wales. We are going to be looking at a sustainable procurement process for next year's events, and we'll continue to drive that through. One of the important things about this year's venue is that they will be achieving their Green Dragon Level 3 award, and they're working towards their 4th and 5th awards. So this is something that's a really positive for a venue of that size, because there are few venues that can actually secure that type of award. In addition, from our side, when we're looking at procurement, in particular for next year, as well as some of the things that we looked at for this year, we're looking at the wider sustainability context. So it is the simple things like having refillable water options rather than using plastic bottles, which so many venues still offer. It's looking at their food waste and how that food waste is put back into a circular process and goes into renewable energy. It's looking at the active travel, it's looking at the healthy spaces, and it's also looking at the social economic impact of those spaces to their communities.
The one thing I wanted to say really to finish is, on behalf of the Green Travel Group, I think we really appreciate being able to have this conversation with you and with colleagues from the team. And I think it's fair to say that, as the Green Travel Group, we'll be advocates and champions of active and sustainable travel to the conference. And if you obviously need any help from the group as well, then we'd be happy to help with, timetables, that sort of thing.
We would welcome any advice that you'd like to offer. We're here to listen, and if we want to make this a truly sustainable event both now and going forward, then it involves listening to our staff, listening to our wider community, and seeing what else is going on in the industry so that we can have that influence. And I'd like to think that because we're quite strict with some of the criteria that we have in our procurement process, that we do actually have an influence on these venues in terms of the healthy food policies that we want as well. If there's anything in particular that our community would like us to consider, please let us know, because now's the time to tell us.